3:03 p.m. and we call to order the October 20th, 2021 Pollyanne Trail Management Council meeting. And we're going to pay respects to the flag, and Donnie's going to do some invocation afterwards. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to meet here today. Thank you for the council, the volunteer management, especially the trail, this beautiful fall weather, and our vibrant colors. Please be with us here as we discuss the business of the trail peacefully and kindly in the best interest of our users and you. In this we pray in your son's name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Donnie. Okay, first order of business is the roll call. So with that, I guess Vice Chair McDonald, would you like to call the roll in the absence of our secretary?
Sure. Can I borrow
A pen?
Because I didn't bring a pad, I didn't plan on being secretary. So
Do you have a pen?
Yes, I'm all set.
I have a paperwork, so.
Oh,
Why does it take us? We got
I see Oxford Township paper.
okay.
We got the video.
Here's official Oxford Township paper.
Okay, the roll call for attendance of the Pollyanne Trail Council members. Bruce Pearson.
Here.
Ed Brakefield.
Here.
Donnie Steele.
Here.
Aaron Watley.
Here.
Curtis Wright.
Here.
Jonathan Knoll.
Here.
Mike McDonald, present. Village of Oxford. Trail Manager Linda Moran.
Here.
Citizen Representative Kevin Green.
Here.
Okay, there's a quorum.
There's the form. Okay, we'll move on. Approval of the agenda. Any additions, deletions? Now I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda presented today, October, 20th, 2021.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilor Knoll, second by Councilor Pearson to approve the agenda for the October 2021 Pollyanne Trail Management Council meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. The agenda is approved. Next to the consent agenda for the September 15 meeting minutes, bills to be paid, financial reports, and the trail manager report. Any comments on any of those? Any comments on the bills? Donnie?
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes, the bill run in $7,842.92, financial reports, and the trail manager report, as presented.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Treasurer Steele, second by Councilor Knoll to approve the consent agenda. Any further questions? Comments? If not, Vice Chair McDonald, can you call the roll, please?
On the motion to approve the consent agenda, Ed Brakefield.
Yes.
Donnie Steele.
Yes.
Aaron Watley.
Yes.
Curtis Wright.
Yes.
Jonathan Knoll.
Yes.
Mike McDonald, yes. Bruce Pearson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. All right, next item is public comment. Other than Linda, there's no public here at the moment. So we'll move on our agenda to citizen rep report. Kevin, you have anything to offer us?
I just had one thing. I was at a bike shop a couple of weeks ago, and the salesperson was doing a great job talking to a couple of ladies about the Pollyanne Trail. They were unfamiliar with it, and I don't know if they bought bikes or rented them, and she was explaining where the trail goes, and they were asking questions. And it just got me thinking and seeing the brochures that you have. I don't know if we regularly drop brochures off to the local bike shops or not. And I didn't even think about looking myself to see if they had any in stock, but I just wondered.
I do Main Street, Kinetics, and then the run shops too, which I probably need to take a fall run through, make sure everybody's got what they need. I have not had any contact with the electric bike rental place.
Yeah, I saw a sign for that.
Yeah, I don't, they're not open. I've been there many times and called even more, and I've never actually made contact.
You might have to do an appointment,
Yeah,
maybe, I don't know.
So,
When would you like to set up here?
no, I can, well, I can if you
It's up
want.
to you, I mean, because there's only two meetings
Is that
down.
against the law?
Nobody else here.
That was it.
I won't get a hook?
Maybe. If you don't behave.
Still.
It's true.
Oh, stop.
I haven't told anybody that we.
Anything else, Kevin?
No.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, on to unfinished business. First item is easement or license conveyance policy. At our last meeting, we talked about adding some language into the conveyance policy. So what was added, if you have your information there, probably if you go to the red line copy on page 3, you'll see we talked about utility easement fees and other fees as well. So the language you see on page 3 is an addition of item 2E, talking about a one-time fee for the use of the access drive and utility easement. If there are ones, then signage that goes on the trail as well for part of the fee. And then also added was a note that the applicant would have an option at their own expense to provide an appraisal of the value of the proposed access drive or utility easement. And then if there's any additional easements above and beyond the access drive easement, then the applicant will be responsible for the cost to secure those easements as well. And then on page 5 is just a consideration that tied back into the actual ownership by the Pollyanne Trail in this case of the easement request. So this was with the work of Mike, Vice Chair McDonald, and our attorneys. This is a language that they are comfortable with going into the policy to address what we talked about last month. So with that, I'll open up the floor to any further comments, items that you'd like to see amended, or if those items are good to move the policy forward. Aaron?
I'll make a motion to approve the Pollyanne Trail Management Council easement or license conveyance policy as presented.
I'll second
Well
that.
done on that.
I'll second with a quick comment.
Okay, we got a motion by Councilor Wiley, second by Councilor Brakefield to approve the easement or license conveyance policy as presented. Go ahead, Ed.
I just wanted to thank Mike. It's a lot of hard work that he did. Good job, Mike. Good.
Thank you. Curtis was
And Curtis.
was
And
as
the-
deeply enmeshed as I was, so I want to make sure everybody gets a fair share. And I have to say, our attorneys, when we finally got communicating effectively with them, we got it wrapped up pretty well. I hope everybody feels the same.
Yeah, if there's anything now, it's time to speak up. Otherwise, we'll move on with the motion and we'll get a roll call on this. Vice Chair McDonald.
Okay. Motion to approve the easement or license conveyance policy. Donnie Steele,
Yes?
Aaron Watley,
Yes?
Curtis Wright,
Yes.
Jonathan Knoll,
Yes.
Mike McDonald, yes. Bruce Pearson,
Yes.
Ed Brakefield,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, very good. And in conjunction with the policy is the application. The determination was to establish some fees for applicants that may be requesting easements across the trail. So again, if you go to the red line copy, okay, the red line copy, I believe is just on page 4. You'll see the changes that were made. What was done is we dropped the fees down to like separate line items, and the $300 application fee was already in the application. It was already determined by council previously. The next number was put out there, and I inserted the number of $650, and the basis for that was $500 for professional fees and $150 for signage that may be required. So if council feels those need needs to be changed, then we can change those. If you're comfortable with that, that's fine. Because what will happen is, if there isn't enough escrow, the process stops until the applicant puts up more funding to continue to get the application approved. We previously discussed the $1,000 one-time fee with the upcoming parcel request for the easement. So that was established, basically setting the precedence going forward. So if council would like to change that number, they can. But that upcoming easement policy request is a separate issue from this application, even though it does apply. Also, the notes put in there that the applicant can provide their own appraisal at their own expense. And then also just another note that if the additional easements are required, then the applicant shall be responsible for the additional cost to secure those easements that might be required. So that was some of the other dialogue we had last month, was the fees, application, escrow, and the one-time fee. And so it's inserted in there, and the attorney has signed off on it, that it's solid to move forward with an agreement on that. So I'll open the floor up for, is the escrow fee all right to the council? I think there should be more or less, then now's the time to let us know. Aaron?
I'll move to approve the Pollyanne Trail Management Council easement license application as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Councilor Watley, second by Councilor Knoll, to approve the easement license application as presented. Any further questions, comments? Hearing none, Vice Chair, can you call the roll?
Okay, for the approval of the application as presented, Aaron Wadley,
Yes.
Curtis Wright,
Yes.
Jonathan Knoll,
Yes.
Mike McDonald, yes. Bruce Pearson,
Yes.
Ed Brakefield, yes. Donnie Steele,
Yes.
it's unanimous.
Okay, that motion carries. Okay, next item is the easement for parcel 09-09-283-012 in Orion Township. It's an update. Since our last meeting, we had some requests for the applicant to bring back additional information as far as utility easement. That was one of the big discussions we had as far as whether or not the utilities could utilize the existing easement as presented. It appears that based upon the feedback from DTE and consumers, there were letters that were provided indicating they could work within that easement, so there was no real issue to increase the size of the easement or get an additional easement. One of the other issues was for the exhibits. In the packet, you see the exhibits were blank. Talking it over with the attorneys, that's been worked out as well. The applicant did provide a property description from LAMS, which is the Land Access Management System from Oakland County. And then the other, that would be for Exhibit A, that would be the property description. And Exhibit B was revised to include the other, basically the easement description for the easement itself and the parcel that it's going to be serving. So those have been satisfied, they're not in the packet, but they will be part of the easement agreement, considering it moves forward and considering that this is an acceptable description from Oakland County when it gets recorded. So I don't know that answer, but at this time though, I think what we need to do is to get a motion to have the applicant abstain from any discussion in the agenda item.
So moved.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Vice Chair McDonald, second by Councilor Watley to approve the abstention of the applicant from discussion on the agenda item for the request for easement to access parcel 09-09-283-012 in Orion Township. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Okay, so going back to this, the easement policy, is there any other items the council wants to discuss before we move forward with this? Okay?
I just want to thank all the parties for your patience and for getting, I think we finally got it right. And this will serve as a model moving forward as far as the easement and the application. And I know that the property owners worked really hard to work with us. So I want to make sure everybody knows what foot we're on.
Okay, yep, that is true. You know, it's been a long 6-month process to get it to this point. I'm sure the applicant is beyond wanting to get this over with, as well as council to make sure everybody can go on and get what they wanted out of this process. I'm going to make an assumption that the applicant's representative is here for that. I don't know if there's anything that you want to request of us.
You know, I guess I would,
Yeah.
this is such an informal setting next to so many that I've had to stand in front of a podium and hand out papers. It's kind of refreshing and nice.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kathleen Sanchez. I'm a real estate broker with Real Estate One in Oxford. I do represent Donnie and Philip Steele as their buyer agent through this transaction and have been instrumental in getting the documents through the real estate process. Certainly the process you folks have gone through is far more cumbersome than the process I've had to go through, and I do mine routinely. This was obviously a very new transition for all of you. But I've been in communication with Seaver Title, who is going to be the escrow agent closing this transaction. And they've given me a few items that they want to ensure takes place for this to, you know, finally come to fruition after all of the months of hard work that everybody has done and the money spent. So just on that note, I think Curtis, you did address this, but I have forwarded a draft of the application to Seaver Title, and they indicated that on initial review of it, it's acceptable as long as Exhibit A and B are attached in recordable form from the attorney. So that's just something that we need to, you know, diligently make sure that it's in recordable form.
Yes.
And that it needs to be signed by the Pollyanne Trail Management Council. They said ideally as soon as possible because they want to again review it one last time prior to closing. So they did indicate that it needs to be signed prior to the closing, and their standard procedure on this is that either I can pick that up once it's signed by the appropriate people here and deliver it to Seaver Title. You are welcome to deliver it to Seaver Title, or somebody could attend the closing to sign it. Ideally, I think I could pick it up once it's in final form and signed and deliver it to Seaver Title. Nothing is recorded and nothing is done with that item until we actually hit the closing itself. And I questioned them on that to make sure that there were no, you know, gray areas, and they said, no, we do this all the time. We have to have the documents here and signed for review. They don't get recorded until there's a physical closing. If no closing takes place, no money's come in, they're not used. So that's one thing that I just wanted to pass on. That's a critical part of this whole thing finally coming to a closure for everybody, is that those documents will need to be signed prior and in recordable form. So I guess I'm looking just from you folks as a little bit of guidance on what that time frame may be, so that I can have the title company on standby. That's probably my first concern.
Well, based on a proposed motion I put in the packet, I was going to have the chair and the secretary of the board of the council sign the documents. So our secretary is not here, of course, so they have to be notified now. Council wants to change it to somebody else, the vice chair or the treasurer or somebody else. That's doable. But usually, from a township standpoint, usually your supervisor and your clerk sign documents.
Correct.
One question I do have though is, if we approve this and for some reason it doesn't close, then you have the applicant owning or having rights to an easement without access to the property.
She actually will not own it until it's recorded at closing.
Okay. But we're approving the easement to that property. You know,
Correct, but again, it won't be recorded, so even
So
though
it's
you
an
may
easement.
have done all the paperwork and granted that easement, till it's recorded, it's not of record, so it won't exist until we physically close.
Okay, all right. Basically, the easement to nowhere then. The applicant to know the easement, 16-foot wide easement.
I understand exactly what you're asking, and I did ask the representative attorney at Seaver Title that in detail, and she said this is how we do it all the time, and it's not going to be an easement that belongs to Donnie and Philip Steele until it's recorded. It won't be recorded until we sit down at a physical closing and documents are signed and monies are passed.
Okay, all right. You know, because that was one of my comments I had on that.
Absolutely, to be,
Contingent on
yes.
closing on the parcel.
Yes, correct.
Make sure that it's definitely
Yes, it
sealed.
doesn't get recorded until there's a closing.
Okay.
So everything up to this point is just a preparation for that event to take place.
Okay.
Other questions on that particular item? And just in reference to what I read in the application with the $1,000 easement fee, when is that collected so that we can satisfy that for the closing as well? Because that is going to be listed as something that needs to be satisfied. So how do we go about satisfying that for you at this point?
I'll open it up to the council, but for me, it's just like, you want signatures as soon as possible, we probably want the same thing, you know, as far as the money exchanging of funds to.
So you would like the $1,000 fee in order to sign?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good enough.
I'm not sure what, I know that the applicants paid the application fee. Did they also do the escrow fee as well?
I don't have an answer to that. You might have to get that from someone else. Yes. Yes.
I think it was already pre-made. Wait a minute, she's the treasurer.
Without saying a word.
Okay, so the only, from, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
From the council's perspective, the only thing outstanding is the $1,000 fee and the signatures. So,
And the exhibits in recordable form.
right,
Correct.
which Donnie has provided.
Okay, so
Right.
the attorney
That's-
just needs to complete his job on that?
Basically, that's my understanding. It will be amended into the easement application as.
Do you know when we might expect that so that I can alert the title company of when that will be coming?
Well, like I say, as long as this is acceptable by Oakland County, as long as it's in Word document, these can be actually put right into the easement. This is the easement agreement, it's pretty quick. You know, as far
As Exhibit A?
So,
Exhibit A and B. So,
Okay.
yes.
Depending on the council today.
Okay.
If they authorize our chairman and another member of the council to sign, we can expedite it.
Perfect, perfect. You guys are wonderful. Just one last concern in reference to a couple of the items that are in the application with reference to the insurance and the bench and notification of when there's work to be done, which obviously, won't take place until the actual closing takes place and the ownership is there. What type of notification are you going to want from Donnie and Philip Steele as to when and how they need to notify you of work to be done?
Isn't that part of the agreement language?
There is something, because it was dealt with the address that there would be notifications to. It's, as far as notices, Kathleen, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
In Section 8, it says notices may be given by personal delivery, certified or first-class mail, postage prepaid at the addresses in the first paragraph of this agreement, with notices to the Pollyanne Trail Management Council, to the attention of the trail manager, and only one notice being required to be given to grantee. Grantee shall notify Pollyanne Trail Management Council of any update or change in address for notice, which shall be maintained on file for Pollyanne Trail Management Council.
So that's simple. Okay, nothing more than that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then as far as the bench that's going to be provided, that can be handled the same way as to when that's going to take place and notification to you folks on that?
Yes, more than likely it will be notification to Linda.
Okay.
She'll be overseeing where it goes and reporting back to council.
Okay. And an insurance available at close, I assume?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's no problem.
covers my list. You guys were wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Anything else for Kathleen or?
I'll sit for a minute until you finish up, just in the event you do have something
Okay.
for me.
All right. All right. Any further?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to approve the ingress egress easement access drive and utility agreement over trail property to service parcel 0909-283-012 in Orion Township as presented, and authorize a chairperson and the
Vice Chair.
vice chairperson to sign document on behalf of the PollyAnn Trail Management Council.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Counselor Pearson, second by Counselor Knoll to approve the request for easement to access parcel 0909-283-012 in Orion Township. Any further discussion, comment, questions? All right, hearing none, seeing none. Vice Chair McDonald, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Curtis Wright,
Yes.
Jonathan Knoll,
Yes.
Mike McDonald, yes. Bruce Pearson,
Yes.
Ed Brakefield.
Yes.
Motion carries. Trustees or Counselor Steele is excused.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah, you forgot me.
Good.
Yes.
Did I miss?
It's all right, yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry.
My apologies.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, the motion carries. Easement is approved. We will expedite the documents as quick as we can. We have to insert the date on it and get those
Correct.
in here.
Correct. I can reach out to you, Curtis, for that in the next
Yeah.
few days and get an update.
Do you
Okay.
have a scheduled closing date by any chance?
We have a 14-day window in which we need to close from today's approval, so
Okay,
it
okay.
is relatively time sensitive.
Yeah, we'll move it.
Okay,
We'll move it along.
thank you.
Should we know better than early next week?
Perfect. I'll reach out to you.
What the rest of the week is for that. Okay, we're gonna move on to water main easement request to service 1761 Clarkson Road at Water Depot. As you're aware, this has been on our agenda since June for a couple of meetings. And the original was to request an easement for water main service. That's since been resolved. So now the next issue was what was going to be planted along the actual west property line of Water Depot for the east line of the proposed storage units. And there's been zoning board of appeals action that has approved the actual proposed plan itself. So I guess I'll ask Treasurer Steele, anything more we need to do on this?
I would hope that Linda could reach back out to the gentleman that you talked to and just see where we are on that. That would be the easiest, and hopefully we can get it just done that way.
He was approved to put in vegetation versus a fence on these east line, is that correct? Linda, if you want to jump in and give us an update, because you were there, I think.
He never intended on putting a fence in, only a wall of vegetation, which we all thought was rather odd. The variances requested were to put the vegetation closer to the Pollyanne Trail property than the ordinance states. Not as dramatic as we once thought. The rocky side is actually not too bad. So he got his variance approved and he will be putting in vegetation. We did compromise on a couple of more long blooming, long greening plants, arborvitaes and things like that. Some hydrangeas, different things like that. Viburnum that will actually look very nice over there. I'm quite pleased with what the design he has. And it's going to be a vast improvement over what's there now.
Is there a time frame he's expecting to start construction?
His indication to me, Mr. Casada, the attorney, indicated as soon as possible. But I have seen that there's a lot of stuff being moved out of the site. I was over there today, and I think there's probably half as much stuff as there normally is. So I believe he is moving, shifting stuff to get it going.
All right.
I was just gonna say, it's not that there's not going to be a fence. The intention was that the buildings will act as the fence, and in between the two buildings will be a small fence section. Linda Donnie and everybody kind of wanted some nice foliage to cover up the building facade, so it won't be accessible from both sides.
Oh, okay. All right. Donnie, go ahead.
And I just reviewed the ZBA, and I reviewed the minutes, and I reviewed the meeting, and it talks about talking to the Pollyanne Trail manager and working together, but it's not very specific of exactly what he intends on doing based on conversations that he's had with the manager. So I just have to watch and be vigilant on making sure somehow that, I don't know, the planner, when they take the plans and start doing the actual building, can say, I hope that you have complied to this verbal agreement that's not in the motion. So we know how that all goes.
Mike, go ahead.
Ordinarily, this is going to be reviewed by it's been reviewed by Orion Township officially, but the plans are usually amended to reflect any variances granted. So the township should receive updated plans showing this change. So do we have to rely on Linda to contact Orion to take a look at those plans and make sure that they are included?
And I just how it all started.
The blueprint.
Yeah, the plans were submitted and they were approved, provided that the ZBA agreed to these variances. So technically, it doesn't have to go back to the planning commission for approval. They just have to follow through on what they've submitted. And
so the planning department would be the one to talk to make sure that the plans show this modification.
yeah, and be right. And we just have to be in good faith and say a lot of prayers that they do what they said they would do to Linda when they build it. And so I'm trying to keep my eyes on it. So
Okay.
the power of the motion, right?
Exactly. And then, is there zoning or planting regulations, type of species and size?
Yeah, that was already all in the plans.
Okay.
And his modifications, I mean, that he talked about are not in the plans, nor are they in the variance motion to change those specific plans. Yes. Only a conversation.
Time will tell. His ability to work.
We have faith here because that's all we have left.
Now, there was also a previous discussion about a donation for paving the parking lot. Did that go away? Or?
It's not in the motion, so
It's not in the
Linda,
motion.
Okay.
He did indicate, the attorney did indicate to me several times on the phone and in person that they had made a donation or will be making a donation to the school and to Pollyanne Trail as a good neighbor. And it was mentioned of $8,000, so.
it's
It's not in writing, is
It's
it?
not in writing.
Let's not waste any more time on that.
No, that,
Maybe a follow-up with her.
I'll follow up.
All you can do is-
I would not let Linda ask.
That poor man. I apologize. if I said that out loud.
You'll get that $8,000.
Let's get that
And the
$12,000.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll get that $15,000.
So,
All right, so really no action at this point to really do it, just an update. We will probably see comments from Linda in the report going forward.
Yeah.
Probably. All right, that concludes unfinished business. We'll move on to new business. Future project planning schedule and funding. Council members, what I put in your packet was excerpts out of our master plan to indicate some of the items that council should be paying attention to for moving some of the projects forward. We discussed it briefly at our last meeting, so that's why it's on this agenda. So I just I just put in the memo, I'll give you a homework assignment out of that list, put your top 10 together, what you think would be of most importance to you. So basically, this is just going to be a discussionary type agenda item. So I know for myself, some of the items I had there, some of the things we're doing already, so I check those off. You know, I know the maintenance center and operations projected 1.1. Had to deal with committees to actually prioritize our projects, which basically we're doing right now. So, you know, I don't think we want to run through all 51 of these items, but was there anyone that jumped out at you to say this is what we should be attacking first? Yes.
Restrooms.
Restrooms.
Resurfacing.
Restrooms resurfacing.
And additional parking, and I have one more, but it's not even on my list.
That's okay.
Is that, is surveying the trail. And I'm wondering if we can get a grant to have that trail surveyed.
If we are eligible, and depending on what the contribution is. From cash monies right now, it's about $108,000 at Oxford Bank at the end of the month. But we'll be dipping into our fund balance for the end of the year. We're only about $3,000 left for 3 months expenses. But you know, if it's like what we did before, we allocated $20,000 here, was it? For the OHM research?
5,000.
5,000? Okay. So
5,000 for the contract, and then I think earmarked
$20,000.
20,000.
Correct.
So those are doable. You know, we would sustain the ability to actually apply. You know, it's a 50-50 match. When if it's out there, we should at least entertain it.
Hey, can I just make a comment about the survey? We're just running into, like on the Paint Creek Trail, every meeting, there is an encroachment with fences and stairs and gates, and it will only get worse. And if we don't know where our lines are, we have no recourse. And so it's just something to be proactive about, so, yeah.
Yeah, you know, from John, go ahead.
Donnie, did they do anything to permitize the stakes on the trail when they did the survey?
I don't believe that it's the stakes, but it's everywhere along the whole trail. It's from the center of the trail out 50 feet. You know what I mean?
So when we surveyed the Pollyanne, will we survey the center of the trail?
That's the assumed center line of the trail.
And then I go out?
You know, from a survey standpoint, it's not necessarily centered right down the middle, so
Right.
it might be 1 or 2 feet in certain areas where the trail doesn't define where the actual line, the boundary lines are at.
So are we gonna put little benchmarks in the trail? Would
It's
that
more
be-
expensive to do that, but I think it should be a definite consideration. We've had to have stakes put in on at least one instance where there was transgression onto our property. So staking doesn't have to be every 5 yards. It can be
Right.
whatever's practical, but it will make a survey possible to do that.
What was the item we had when we did that?
The street?
$130,000. That was just for engineering.
The $130,000 was an Alta survey, which basically they do a complete survey of the trail. They do a survey of the placement of every culvert, every crossing area. They do research of the history of titles. I mean, an Alta is a complete, when you get it and you look at a piece of property, you know everything that's ever happened, that's ever been filed on that piece of property. They're extremely expensive because they're extremely time consuming. So I do not know the cost of a standard survey. You just go out and survey it. I know the property that we did previous is $1,000 just for the one property. So I don't.
Yes, the one off Canview?
Yes.
Between Grainer and Birdie?
Yes.
That was to determine the property corners. So it is expensive.
It is.
And maybe with that survey too, it'd be determining hierarchy of need. You know, there's probably a lot of emotion. How much is it affecting the trail itself?
We did have the one that I did bring to you, I believe, and I won't be able to know exactly without going onto someone else's property, which I'm really trying never to do. the leaves come down, I do believe that there is a homeowner building a shed of some variety on our property in Orion Township. And I just found that out just like 2 days ago.
Well, we discussed that, and then what I replied is that if they're building a shed on the property, they should, I would imagine Orion Township would require a building permit of some sort for putting the shed on. And number two, they're building in the setback area, which is a violation, I would imagine, of Orion Township zoning regulations.
Right. But I just haven't visually, I mean, there's too much vegetation and I'm not
So you're anticipating or speculating?
speculating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and anticipating.
So, I guess that would be just a matter of following up farther for the confirmation on something like that.
And Curtis, we probably refer to that survey almost every meeting for some reason, for something, you know. So.
Yeah, so what's Pink Creek going to do? Sure.
When these encroachments come in, we have a licensing committee, which is like 3 people, and somebody makes an application that I want to have a bridge, I want to have a stairs, I want to have a fence, and they look at it and they go out there and they say, no, you've built it on the property, we'll allow you a walkway to there, but you need to move your fence back. I mean, that's kind of like, and it makes it a lot easier, you know, because there's lots of them. So if you do one and you have an application, it just makes the process a lot easier.
So how, Mr. Chair, how do they determine? Do they have benchmarks in the trail that are sunk in the ground?
No, it's based on, if you look at the survey, it shows, it's very detailed. I'll probably give you a copy of one, but it's got like old fence marks, it's got, you know, so there's other things, you know, old wiring fence, so it probably has more, maybe, I don't know if it was an also.
So my concern was if we pay for the survey and get it done, how do we best use that as the management council without putting benchmarks in? So you're saying the survey will be detailed enough that we won't have to worry about benchmarks in the center of the trail?
I haven't looked at the stakes, so I can't say, but when you look at these encroachments and you look at the survey.
It's pretty obvious?
It's obvious,
Okay.
yeah.
We've had to use it a couple times on our section, the
Pink
Pink
Creek.
Creek, and we went from the center. Most of the violations are pretty blatant, to where it doesn't matter if it's 2 or 3 feet. If it's on the other side of the trail, they're encroaching quite heavily.
So you enforce regardless of distance?
Well, at that point, if we notice a violation, we'll take it to the Trails Committee, and then they'll proceed with it how they want from there. So.
Do you have funds to actually provide legal counsel or something if it comes down to that?
Yeah, just like you, it's Lisa, it's the same person.
Okay.
Yeah, and so far we've been pretty, now she had to do the license agreements, you know, like these license agreements, but these encroachments, it was the initial, you're encroaching, 25 people are encroaching and you have to go and they think that they have eminent domain and you have to fight those out. But once you fight it out and you get it all cleaned up, then as they come along, you usually, as a council, can say no.
The case-by-case basis?
Yeah, and I'm gonna just pass my iPad, and you can see one of the sections. Yeah.
At this point, right now, I believe we have 2 encroachments.
Located where?
North of Indianwood,
North of Indianwood.
south of Joslin, on the corner of Joslin and Joslin.
Joslin?
What happened, Chair, what happened with the one by the bridge on 24?
They had their survey. There were surveys taken out from when the trail was originally surveyed, when the bridge went in. They knew where they were, and they just moved the fences back. So that has been all resolved with the village box.
Okay.
So the fences have been removed.
Bruce, go ahead. You can go.
I was gonna say, you're always gonna have this encroachment. Everybody believes they own more property than what they own. And every time a new owner comes in, of course, the first thing they do is believe that they own more property. My advice would be is as soon as you see somebody starting anything, send them a letter advising them that, there's a possibility they're encroaching on the trail, and nip it in the bud right at the very beginning, because once they get these buildings up, The first thing they want to do is come in and ask for forgiveness. The best thing to do is say, no, we've issued you the warning ahead of time, so don't complete the project, you know. So if you see them, I would suggest you get it out there as fast as possible. Don't wait for them to finish the project, because I had a ton of people that want forgiveness after the fact. So anyways, that's just my advice, because we see it all the time here.
If you scroll up and down, Mike, you'll see like other pictures, and you can see fences, and you can see little stairs, and we take pictures and say, you know, you can see all what we do to, yeah. And you can see the application that asking for forgiveness.
Yeah. Ed, you have a comment? I guess not. Okay.
There it is.
All right, so it sounds like based on this discussion, serving is a high priority. You know, I know within the documents here, you talked about a storage facility. I don't know how on the list that. That's plus location is another issue with that. I looked at that previously, probably 2 years ago. Someone that mentioned what do you have?
I did speak with Chief Mike in the village of Oxford today. There's a growing majority of people on the council and in the village that want to save that building, the Watchtower building. So there is a big movement to actually, instead of spending the hundreds of thousands of dollars to tear it down and dispose of it, to actually spend that money and remodel the building and keep the building. So it's going to cost them several $100,000 to tear it down. If they put that money into renovations, now we have a building.
Right.
More and more people are using that building. We did go out and take a survey, and there's like 6 or 7 groups that are using that facility for storage or other placements of items. The library.
Because we've been getting a really good deal by having our items there, so I think that's something we have in the back of our mind. So, figure out funding, proposed size, location, those types of items for when that day comes of changing people on councils and boards and deciding how things are going to be.
So Curtis, do you want us to, did we answer the question, or do you want us to come back next meeting and
I think,
give one?
you know what, based upon timing and what the discussions like tonight, I think if we reconvene next month, maybe pinpoint something more, what do I want to say, more concrete, I guess, more solid. Because there are several items here, and a lot of them are being done and checked off. You know, coordinated with Arts Committee, well, the EIA's already been doing that for Linda. You know, funding and grant opportunities, we've been looking for those. The signage, and that's something we've done. I mean, here's looking at putting signage every half mile. Do we want to do that? I don't know. One thing I had, Linda, do we have like emergency numbers on our signs?
We have 911.
911, okay.
Yes.
All right, so that's one thing there too that I had on that we have taken care of here. Coordinated efforts with first responders, Michigan Mountain Bike Patrol and area health providers to partner on the safe trails. So by putting the emergency numbers on there, that would ensure that at least it's a step closer to saving somebody's life. Have we had much interaction with our new website person?
Just a few times, just when we had some updates done. Probably a month and a half, 6 weeks ago, we added the Pure Michigan. We have uploaded that to our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe. We're going to be uploading some more videos as far as different things you can see on the trail. I was also going to be putting a link on our YouTube for our meetings, and also the PSA, the public service announcement we did about share the trail with horses, bikes, runners, that we did with OCTV a few years ago, and put that on our YouTube channel as well. So people can actually look at our YouTube, look at our PSA, look at things on the trail, look at our Michigan advertisement.
Here's another one for you, Mike. It says partner with the Village of Leonard to determine and implement desired amenities at the Leonard Mill. What do you think, and this is probably way out there, but what do you think the estimated time is to complete the mill? I know money's a big issue.
Yeah, it's, I can't give you a date or a time. We're working hand to mouth as we get enough money accumulated for the next phase of the project. We're trying to do what Orient's doing. We'd like to get in the village a public restroom that's all season and make that part of the mill complex, so to speak. But we've got to get our recreational master plan up to date. And, that's my job.
So, yeah, well, let's do that, Donnie. Let's put this on next month's agenda. And it gives people a little more chance to study it if they haven't. And then we can actually maybe move some projects forward sooner than we otherwise might have. Go ahead.
I've got a little challenge for this council, and help me out with this, and help Linda out with this, and you know where I'm going with this. On,
Don't feed the cows.
close to it, objective 3.1, item 2, okay?
312.
In Addison Township, taking a little history, Pollyanne Trail was for horses, bicycles, and hikers, in that order. More city people started walking on our trail, and bicyclists from Rochester, whatever, see a pile of horse dung on the ground, which goes away after 2 weeks. Doesn't like it. Oh, this is bad, this is nasty. I challenge this council to come up with some solution that a person can get off of a 16-hand horse that needs a 4-foot mounting block to get up on that horse, to get off that horse to clean up the horse droppings, to get back on the horse to finish the ride. If you can come up with a solution, God bless you. But I don't know how to get off of my horse 2 miles away from home, to get off, to clean up, to kick the poop off to one side, to get back up, unless we decide we would like to put mounting blocks about every quarter mile or half mile. Because some of us don't want to walk a mile to get to a mounting block, they'll walk our horses. I know a lot of the city people don't like it, and it's a big thing, but the trail in Addison Township was for horses. And Oakland County, I mean, it's a fact of life, and I don't know what else we can do about it. I have no clue. And a lot of people, I saw a little Facebook entry saying, throw the poop in their face. That was as rude as you could get. Okay, that was horrible. But the solution, there's got to be a solution there. If not, it's got to be an etiquette. Please understand, riders cannot get off of a horse that is 6 feet high unless you supply a mounting block to let them get back on. And again, this is the horse trail first, bicycles and hikers. If you'll look at the original layout of the Pollyanne Trail in Addison Township, it was a horse trail. And so I challenge this council to come up with a solution that we can make everyone happy. Linda?
Yeah, Linda, you can respond to that. You travel the trail.
I have seen far less horse refuse.
All it takes is one, and somebody starts screaming, which puts it on the sheet.
I travel the trail daily. I'm in different sections of the trail every single day. When I see refuse, whether it's coyote or horse or cow or whatever it is, I carry a shovel and I take care of it.
Okay.
And I think that we've had less of a discussion about horse refuse in the last 2 years because we're proactively taking care of it. You know, if you put a notice on Facebook or anything like that, you know, be understanding, that's just going to cause a firestorm.
Well, that's what they did.
You know, and
They took a picture of the horse droppings and blew it up on Facebook.
I think that, you know, it's just.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I think that, you know, I get a lot of heat in the villages and stuff for dog waste, okay?
Yeah.
And as I pointed out, it's not always dog waste. It's scat we have a lot of coyotes.
Yeah.
So I try to explain to people, and I feel a pretty good job when I see it cleaning it up, which is just part of doing the maintenance. And this year I've seen far less, and I think people are more aware, and I've seen a lot of people that when they're out hiking, just walking, they're removing it from the trail as well.
Well, I noticed in this one here, specifically, and maybe we've got to reword it some way.
Yeah.
Develop a ride right trail etiquette campaign to reduce user conflict so far. Educate trail users to how to interact with horses on the trail. That's good. Encourage cleanup after pets and horses, and respect everyone using the trail. I just can't get off my horse to do it. And if, thank you very much.
We have to include geese too.
And geese.
And swans.
They attack us
The
with those
swans.
spotted George there.
But I would like to have you figure out a way to word it less controversial, that understand that.
Well, here we go. Why don't you word it, Ed, and bring it to council
Me?
next month? Yeah.
This is in the master
Not
plan.
too good at wording.
This was last year's project, sorry.
What's that?
This was last year's project.
I
This is
know,
already in
well,
there.
it came up this
And
2 weeks ago.
Just because you see it on the internet, it doesn't make it real. I mean, yeah,
It
a
doesn't.
horse did drop some manure, and somebody took exception to it, but the responses that I saw, which was right after it was on Facebook.
Nasty. But it went away.
Some people were on the other side of the coin. They understood that in a week's time, 2 weeks' time, it's gone, it either gets kicked off or breaks down. And I agree with Linda. I think if we, or was it Donnie, that said, the more we talk about it, it's just going to turn into a
It'll
bigger
turn
issue and worse for the horses, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But to what Linda said, the trail amount of dog manure, dog poop,
Yeah.
has been drastically cut. And I think a lot of it is the stations, the bag, where we can get bags and the garbage. And Linda's doing a great job getting the garbage picked up, along the trail from the garbage cans and that. And that all makes a better experience, and people are willing to put forth a little more effort. So kudos to you and the Trail Council for making those priorities.
So I agree with both. What we're gonna do is just kind of let it.
I don't think.
Let Linda kind of, she sees it, okay.
Yeah,
Just done.
kick it off.
Yeah, and I take care of it a lot, and I do have 2 horse ladies who not only ride the horses, but they do walk. And after their rides, I've seen them out there, and I'm like, where's your horses? And they're like, oh, they're home, they're resting. And they had coal shovels, and they were actually going along the trail in the Addison section, cleaning it off. And they said, this is our community service. We bring our horses out here, they have issues.
Yeah.
And one had some severe diarrhea one day. Anyway, and they were out there, and they do it, however often, and they clean it up. And I've seen far less refuse the last several years than I've ever seen. But again, we're cleaning it up, we're working on it.
Okay.
And education, a lot of it is education. We have signs out there about not feeding the swans and ducks. The
No,
same
besides
thing is,
not feeding my cows.
listen, I had to chase cows off in Leonard. There were cows that were sunning on the trail.
You're picking on Leonard.
Yeah.
They're always picking on Leonard.
No, I always tell.
Let's digress.
Okay.
Yeah, horse.
We digress.
Yeah,
Let's
Move along.
move along here. Move on.
Thank you.
So, without
Dog,
any
doggies.
further discussion,
Yeah.
everybody's got an idea what we want to accomplish
Yes.
here. And whether we get it done or not is another story, but if we don't put something on paper, we'll never get there. Okay, moving on to item 9B, last item under new business is purchase of gravel for Pollyanne Trail. Trail Manager Moran has requested council approve for her to get some gravel. She's given me a few numbers, so I left the item blank. So Linda, what number would you like in the blank?
I should not need more than $500 per parking lot. I would like to put some gravel at Indian Wood. It's getting a little thin. I'm actually thinking about getting some fine millings over there. Pete Frederick, Koenig Mill, is a supplier of millings, large and small. So I'd like to redo that with some millings. Lake George needs a little bit of help. It just, because of how it's positioned, it just needs more gravel. The MDOT cloud that I put down last year is starting to kind of peek through, so I want to get that covered up. And Curtis Road on the west side, every time the road commission grades that thing, they grade it low. and the water just runs onto Curtis Road. It's a flood zone over your place.
Right.
So I'd like to get some MDOT cloth, which I have access to, throw it down and put some gravel on, just like we did on the east side. And since we took care of it on the east side, we have had no more washouts, and it's really held together the last 4 years, not an issue on the east side. So I'd kind of like to throw some gravel at it and try and get the west side fixed. But I thought we had it fixed, and they went through and graded it, and just graded it well.
So how much does it cost for each one?
Probably around $500
For each?
for each, yeah.
So you need 3 or 2?
I need 3.
3.
I need Curtis Road, Indian Wood, and Lake George.
Who needs spare parking lots?
Okay, I need some for Milk Run, Curtis Road, and Lake George is Milk Run, but Indian Wood doesn't have a name.
Okay, can I make a
Junction,
motion?
but it's up.
Yes,
Make a
sir.
motion, and I'm gonna give Linda a little bit of fluid, you don't go over it. I authorize Pollyanne Trail Manager Linda Moran to purchase gravel for the placement of Pollyanne Trail in the amount not to exceed $2,500 and expense the account 298-853-932000, maintenance of grounds.
Support.
A motion by Councilor Wakefield, second by Treasurer Steele, to approve the purchase of $2,500 worth of gravel for the Pollyanne Trail. Any further discussion? Vice Chair McDonald.
I don't have my, I got the paperwork here, but what's our budget have? I mean, is that coming out of,
Maintenance of grounds.
do we have enough in there to cover that? We don't.
Oh, we don't? Okay.
Well,
we
with
have
budget
to-
amendments, we will.
Yeah.
With budget amendments, we will. And let's take a look here real quick.
Yeah, I
Good point, Mike.
didn't remember there was,
Let's-
There's no money, there's no money.
I did bring in an $8,000 check.
I just brought
Okay.
$650.
Yeah,
I
and we
did
got
bring
another
the $8,000.
$1,000 check today.
We budgeted $12,000, as of September 30th, it's $13,154, so we're over budget $1,154, but the overall expenses are $4,000, which we're gonna amend anyway to take money out of our fund balance to make it work. And I'm assuming Linda will spend $2,500 worth of gravel.
Oh, no.
So
Mike's gonna run the.
that's if the motion passes.
Mike's gonna run the tractor. Parks and Rec are dumping the gravel, not you. You're safe.
This week.
This week. The other Parks and Rec are gonna deliver
You
it.
dump it on Curtis Road,
Bruce-
I'll
Bruce
run my
is sitting
tractor.
here,
We'll
too.
get it left.
I was out chopping wood all day for a senior whose driveway was blocked, so, and it was close to the trail, so it counts.
Okay, motion is second on the floor. Any further discussion on the purchase? If not, Vice Chair McDonald, can you call the roll, please?
yes, sir. Motion for approval of $2,500 for graveling the Pollyanne Trail parking lots. Jonathan Knoll,
Yes.
Mike McDonald, yes. Bruce Pearson.
Yes.
Ed Brakefield.
Yes?
Donnie Steele.
Yes.
Aaron Watley.
Yes.
Curtis Wright.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, that concludes business. Public comment, nobody's present. Council member comments, Bruce, we'll start on your end.
I'm just glad that we got the easement situation handled, and I'm looking forward to the party.
Yes.
Councilor Knoll, anything?
No, no comment.
Okay, Councilor Brakefield.
Go along with the party. Thanks a lot, Don.
I do want to, I didn't hear it, but Linda did, Schneider Foundation sent a check for $8,000 last week. So that's a heck of a boost. So make sure we pass thanks back to all those guys and gals that are helping us out. Thank you, Linda.
Donnie?
Thank you guys for the easement. I am going to have a party. I think we're going to build like a kit log cabin, so it's going to be called what would you call it, the she shack or the gin joint? That's what it's
Gin joint.
It's
Like a gin joint.
We're still gonna name it, so, that, and then, just real quick, I had my Pink Creek Trail meeting last night, and we're gonna have a trails event starting in the village on June 6th, and it's gonna be from Lake Orion to Rochester. They are putting a bathroom on Orion Road, and that should be completed this year. It's between Clarkson and Adams, and it will have a pole for horses. So they're encouraging the equestrian as well there too. So that's gonna be a really nice addition. And then the last thing is, after 8 years, the state has submitted plans to do a bridge that will connect Bald Mountain over onto the Pink Creek Trail. So the goal is to get that from Bald Mountain onto Pink Creek, over to the Bald Mountain North, over to get to Addison Oaks, all through trails to connecting the two. So we're closer, we're pretty close to getting all those pieces together, so, which I think. Pardon?
2 more years.
2 more years, but it's after 8, that seems like nothing.
No.
So, which I think it's a definite add for us, so, and that's it. Thanks, you guys.
Aaron?
The genealogy of that project would be quite amazing to see. Like the property transfers and purchases. I put out the kind of a plan sketch for our paving of the trailhead over at the Orion Center. I have a copy for you as well. So Linda, I'll get with you in the next, when I get a hard date for when it's gonna happen, but our trailhead will be closed down for about 5 days. So it'll be nice.
Very nice, very nice.
Keep up with the work.
All right, I'll close out after Kevin goes first.
I'm good.
You got it. Linda?
Okay, so, just a couple of quick things. I did get some pawpaw trees out there, I'm so excited about it. I have 3 in Orion Township, and I have 2 in Oxford Township, and they are like my treasures. They've been fenced and electrified, and if anybody touches them, I have 24-hour surveillance on them. The Pollyanne Trailway Management Council has been asked to have a float in the Christmas parade in Oxford. So if nobody's opposed, I figured we'll just run the gator down. We'll just sign up and have the gator down now. So that'd be kind of a lark, we've got, we'll have something. I'll put a mower in the back, it'll be fun. So unless anybody has any problems, we'll be doing the float in the Oxford parade. We also, I did get a email last night from the Florida County Community Foundation. They were reviewing our application for $10,000 for matching money for our vault toilet parking lot paving project. So I'm hoping to hear something like that soon. They needed some clarification, which is good, because that means they're reading it. Fingers crossed. We're just trudging along. I have the National Honor Society next weekend coming out with luck. We are going to be cleaning and organizing the police garage. I kind of feel it's my rent duty to keep that place clean and tidy. So we didn't do it last year because we did not have any volunteers because of the COVID situation. This year, we still don't have the volunteers from the county like we've had in the past. So National Honor Society has stepped up. So we're going to have a crew out there, we're going to clean the garage and organize it, toss a bunch of stuff. There's so many people using that facility that it is stuffed to the brim. So
You can use my hay wagon if you need to, and Ed will provide the horse manure if you want to put it on there.
Nice, nice. For the parade? The parade or the garage cleaning?
Are you doing it?
I'm thinking about getting an elephant. I like that.
We could do the little gator.
They're pretty fair weather.
Yeah.
Have you got a
It's the same
flatbed?
Just saying that.
So, yeah, I got that hay wagon to go tomorrow.
Any more, Linda?
No, I think we need
Okay. Donnie, thank you for your patience on this whole easement situation. We've learned experience for all of us. And now we definitely have a basis to move forward on the next one and probably be participating. So,
Yeah, the other end that's nicer.
A couple other things, if anybody has any changes to the contact list, let me know, so I can make those changes. Everybody was given an addition on the packet of the catch basin project that David Buren did, so everybody's aware of what's going on there. Just wondering also, is 3 o'clock good for our meetings going forward? Everybody comfortable with that still? You know?
Yeah, 'cause we usually do get out by 7, so it's pretty good, I guess.
It's been better since
There-
he
there-
doesn't let me
there-
talk.
there- there are
You're welcome to
nominations
take
coming
and
up
run the
for-
chair if you like. You get the chair.
Yeah, this is your chair.
Equal opportunity.
You can feel right at home.
I'm just saying the NODA meetings, we're handling millions of dollars and they're half hour.
They're not as intense.
This is a labor look.
It's all fuel. Load is all.
So other than that, for Bruce's favorite part, look for motion for adjournment.
Bruce?
I make a motion for adjournment.
Okay, motion by Councilor Pearson, second by Councilor Brayfield to adjourn the meeting at 4:13 PM. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Cameraman.
Good to see everybody.
Yeah.